Hi everybody, welcome to 5 Minute Ministries. If you ask the average person, are you a good person? Or if you ask the question, are people basically good? Most of the time you'll get the answer, yes, I'm a good person, or yes, people are basically good. But I want to know and understand what qualifies that. What qualifies a good person? Well, to the average person, a good person is someone who is better than another person. We judge our goodness based on other people. Unfortunately, that can only go so far. And I want to give you an example. There was a man by the name of John Wayne Gacy. Now, he would dress up like a clown and go to hospitals and children's parties. And his neighbors and friends and even his family thought he was this terrific guy. Everyone thought he was a good person. Well, if you don't know who this man is, I'm going to give you a little insight that might be shocking. Because while he was going to these places and trying to entertain children as a clown, and everyone thought he was this great guy, he was also a murderer. He was a serial killer and a sex offender. So now that you have that perception of him, do you think he is basically a good person? Well, again, it depends on your perspective. We want to judge others and ourselves based on others and ourselves. Are we as bad as this person? And that is a lot of the times the justification. Well, I'm not as bad as him or her, or I've never killed anybody, I've never raped anybody, I've never done this. And we have this idea that those are the standards. That if you haven't killed, you haven't raped, you haven't robbed a bank, or we have our own criteria. If I don't do those things, then I am a good person. Well, the problem comes when we ask what God's standard is. God's standard is perfection. And what I mean by perfection is you never commit a sin at all. And it's not just the actions. Because most people will think they're good people because they don't do any bad actions. They don't do any sinful actions. But the Bible tells us it goes beyond our actions. And I know I've described this before, but I'm going to do it again. It's not just our actions, it's our words. Jesus says, if you say to someone, you fool, you are guilty of hellfire. And if you look, it's not just our words and our actions, it's our thoughts as well. Jesus says, if you lust after a person, you've already committed adultery. So you don't even have to commit the sin. You don't have to talk about the sin. You can just think about committing the sin. And you are guilty of sin. And how many times does it take before you're a bad person? How many times? Well, let's go back to John Wayne Gacy for a second. How many people did he have to kill before he's a bad person? Well, most of the time, one person will kill one other person, and that person is labeled as a bad person. Well, the Bible also does that. The Bible says in James, if you sin against one part of the law, you are guilty of all of it. You may think, well, that's not fair. Well, we don't set the rules. God does. And God says, my rule is perfection. That means you can't say, do, or think anything that goes against me or my word. And who has not done that? And you have your lifetime from conception to death to not commit, think, or say any sin whatsoever. But we're all going to do it because we are conceived with the sin nature. It's passed on to us from Adam to his children and then their children and their children all the way up to us. And even our children have that sin nature. So while it may not seem fair, but let's put it this way. Is there anyone who's righteous? Is there anyone who's never committed a sin? And it's not just because it's in us, it's because we choose to sin. Sin is our choice. We have the option to sin or not sin. And because of our sin nature, we choose to sin. And to say that you don't choose to sin, or that you've never committed one, then you've already committed one because you've lied. And it also means you don't understand what sin is. And to say that you are a good person is to say, Jesus, you died for nothing. I don't need you to die for my sins because I don't have any. But don't we all have some? We all have sin, and we're all going to commit it. So are you basically a good person? Well, maybe basically, but if you dig a little deeper and really think about it, you will find out that you are not. I don't want to be discouraging, but this is only more information to let you know that you need Jesus Christ. Now, I've talked about salvation in other messages, so I'm not going to do it here, but I want you to think about it. If you are sinful and are destined and bound and deserve hell, then you need Jesus Christ to pull you out, and you need to rely on His righteousness and not your own. This has been 5 Minute Ministries, and I'll see you next time.